Hello and welcome to the Football News Zone, the show where we round up all the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. There's been a full round of European fixtures on this week again, but which stories have been grabbing the headlines the most? This week we will bring you the positive step that Liverpool have taken by freezing their ticket prices for next season. Casemiro is determined to see out his Manchester United contract despite a lack of playing time, and we react to the alleged racial abuse that Hannibal suffered in the Championship last weekend. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in. So it's no secret that the UK is in a cost of living crisis. It is so hard right now for a lot of people just to scrape by, and any kind of luxuries such as going to football is something that a lot of people cannot afford to do. But there is some good news on this front, and it's come in the form of Liverpool Football Club, who have committed to freezing their ticket prices for next season, which is of course a good thing. It's not a cheap thing to go and see Liverpool, as you'd expect, to be honest. Despite them having a huge stadium, the demand for tickets is not going away. They are having an incredible season this season too. But despite all that, they're not raising their prices at all for next season. So let's have a look at thefootballchronicle.com here, guys, because there's been a lot of controversy about ticket prices. Manchester United, of course, have risen their prices despite them doing terrible on the pitch. But Liverpool, despite doing amazingly on the pitch, have not raised their prices, which of course, like I said, very good thing. Liverpool Football Club has announced they will freeze general admission and season ticket prices for the 2025-26 season, following warnings from supporter groups that increased ticket costs could force out local and generational fans. The decision comes after meetings between the club and the supporters board, which were held in response to an open letter from various Liverpool supporter groups cautioning that rising prices threaten to kill the Kop. The Kop, of course, being the famous and biggest stand at Anfield, I do believe, and of course as well on top of that, of where a lot of the hardcore fans are. And if you price them out, if you try it, then unfortunately, yeah, it's not going to be a good thing for the noise that's being generated during matches. The price freeze applies to both adult and junior tickets, with the latter remaining at just £9 for the 10th consecutive season. This price is the same as a portion of local tickets, which have been available to those with a Liverpool postcode since the 2016-17 campaign. Again, that's a good thing, making sure there's local support there with that, so you're not pricing them out with tourists and all that, which of course is infamous in the Premier League. The club's decision to maintain current ticket prices comes despite significant increases in Anfield matchday operating costs and the continued rise in the cost of football operations in general. Liverpool's announcement arrives amidst growing discontent among Manchester United fans as their club's unpopular decision to raise ticket prices to £66 mid-season. In an open letter to co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe last month, the Manchester United Supporters Trust must warn that such price increases could lead to outright rebellion in the near future. And empty seats potentially at Old Trafford, which is just unthinkable really when you think about the size of that club, but it could happen. It could happen. Ahead of recent clashes between Liverpool and Manchester United supporters from both clubs, united under the Football Supporters Association campaign slogan #StopExploitingLoyalty to protest against raising ticket prices. This frustration is not limited to these two clubs, as it has been evident amongst fans across the Premier League, with Crystal Palace being the only top-flight club not to raise ticket prices for the current season. The decision by Liverpool to freeze ticket prices for the 2025-26 season demonstrates the club's willingness to listen to and address the concerns of their supporters. By maintaining affordable ticket prices, particularly for junior fans and those with local postcodes, the club is taking steps to ensure that Anfield remains accessible to a diverse range of supporters, including younger generations and those from the local community. It's a big PR win for Liverpool doing this, it really is, and you know, I applaud them for doing it. Ticket prices in football are getting obscene, they really are. I mean, like, I'm gonna go to my local side, well, my former local side, the side that I've always grown up supporting, Sheffield United. I'm hopefully going to go to the game between us and Leeds in a couple of weeks' time. Well, less than a couple of weeks' time. It's literally in a week's time. And, you know, I'm dreading what the ticket prices are going to be for that, because I know that they're going to raise them for that game because it's such a massive game. It's the local rivalry, top of the league clash, and that's in the Championship. That's not even in the Premier League. So honestly, the ticket prices are getting ridiculous. They really are. And a lot of clubs can take a leaf out of book when it comes to this, you know. I know they're getting massive amounts of money for the Champions League and the Premier League and everything, but despite that, a lot of clubs do still raise their prices. I mean, you know, and this is what's going to happen, you know. This is always what's going to happen. You know, the clubs are being run like businesses because they are businesses. And unfortunately, the businesses are not owned by the supporters. I mean, I'm a big fan of what they do in Germany. I do really like what they do in Germany, where they have the 50+1 rule. It'll never happen in England, and I know it's not perfect, but, you know, at the end of the day, what is football if you don't actually go and see it live? It's great having a team that's successful and very financially, you know, lucrative at the end of the day. That's fantastic, but if you never actually see them, if you're not part of the community, then what's the point? That's my kind of point with that. But anyway, that's a bigger topic, a much bigger topic for another day. Good thing for Liverpool to do this. Fair play to them at the end of the day. So the tagline recently about Casemiro is that there's bad news for Manchester United fans, and that is that he wants to stay at the club. Now, I say that relatively tongue-in-cheek, but it is actually bad news, I'd say, in a sense. And I'll explain why as I go through this article. But let me just read it out first, because the wages that Casemiro is on are absolutely obscene for how much he has contributed to the club recently. I don't think he was a bad player when he first came in, to be honest. Got a lot of red cards for Manchester United, but since then he's not featured as much. He's not quite been as good, and he does not justify the wages that he's on, which I will reveal the alleged wages that he's on at the end of this video. But it is absolutely obscene, and yeah, he's wanting to stay at the club until his contract expires at the end of next season, and we'll probably go on a free after that as well. So let's see what's been said, guys. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always. Manchester United midfielder Casemiro has expressed his desire to remain at the club until his contract expires in 2026, despite a challenging season so far that has seen him lose his place as a regular starter. The Brazilian international, who joined United from Real Madrid in 2022, started in their 1-0 defeat to Tottenham. He definitely didn't star in it, he wasn't very good, but had been benched for 10 of the previous 11 league games under coach Ruben Amorim. And of course, let's not forget about the bench that they had against Tottenham Hotspur, where Victor Lindelof was the only senior player there. Everybody else was a teenager, so he kind of had to start really at that point. In an interview with Diario AS, Casemiro discussed his situation at the club, saying, "I have to keep doing what I'm doing with a lot of respect and good behaviour. Of course, I'd like to play more. I don't know any player who doesn't want to play, and I want to help the club at this time. I face things with respect for my teammates and the staff, and above all, respect for United." Despite the challenges he has faced on the pitch, Casemiro remains committed to seeing out his contract at Old Trafford. He said, and I quote, "I have a year and a half left on my contract, and I'd like to see it out here in Manchester. I'm comfortable here, and my family is here too. They've adapted. We speak English. I'm very grateful to the fans and the club. I'm at the club. Happy on the bench? Of course not, but that's something else," he said. End quote. Casemiro's move to Manchester United in August 2022 came with high expectations given his impressive track record at Real Madrid, where he won 5 Champions League and 3 La Liga titles as part of a legendary midfield trio alongside Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. However, the Brazilian has faced criticism for his performance at United, with some suggesting he is past his prime, Jamie Carragher chief among them. In response to these claims, Casemiro told AS the following, quote, "I'm young and I've got a lot left to give, about to turn 33. Nowadays, that's like being 28 before, with nutrition, physical preparation, all that extending a player's career if you look after yourself. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo is still scoring goals, 50 goals a season at 40 years old." End quote. It's also because he's in the Saudi League, but you know, the guy is a monster. Honestly, the guy's physique is something else. As Manchester United continue to struggle within the Premier League, currently sitting in 15th place, Casemiro's future at the club remains uncertain. With his contract set to expire in 2026, the summer of 2025 could be a pivotal moment for both the player and the club. For United, the decision to keep or sell the midfielder may depend on his performances in the coming months and the team's overall success under his leadership. Right, well, I'm going to start with the counter-argument that a lot of people have given at the end of the day when it comes to why Casemiro has every right to stay at Manchester United. He signed a contract with the club, and that contract ends at the end of the 2026 season, he has every right to stay. As a paid employee, he has every right to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a temporary worker, if you're a contract worker and you have a contract that goes for a certain amount of time, and your employer decides, well, now is the time to get rid of you at the end of that contract, or you want to leave at the end of that contract, that is your decision, and football is no different. So there's nothing wrong in that sense. But the problem for Manchester United is that Casemiro is apparently on £350,000 a week or so. And if by some miracle they get back into the Champions League, there's a clause in that contract that apparently does reach up to £400,000 a week. That's what his salary would be at that point, which is absolutely obscene. That's what even Rashford is on. And you think about his contribution during that time. Is he a £400,000 a week player? No. Is he a £200,000 a week player? No. 100 grand? Pushing it. He's not fit enough for the most part. He's usually injured, and he's not really shown that he's a player that values, to be honest. He's not really shown much in this last season, and I know that applies to a lot of the Man United squad, but a lot of the Man United squad are not on the kind of wages that he is, and they're also not as old as him. I know he's saying that 33 is the new 28, and he's right, but that's only when you're playing consistently, and he's not showing enough, just like Rashford wasn't. Difference is that Rashford has at least gone out on loan to Aston Villa. I mean, look at Anthony right now. Anthony scored a banger at the weekend for Real Betis over in Spain. That just shows that there is some talent in that player, but for some reason he just doesn't perform at Manchester United, a bit like Rashford, a bit like so many of that squad. So for me, if I was Casemiro, personally, and I'm speaking as somebody who could only ever dream of earning what he has done and only ever dreaming of achieving what he has done, from a professional point of view, if you're not playing at 33 years old, 34 maybe at the end of this season, don't know when his birthday is, could be before now, I'd honestly go. I'd go in the summer and I'd go somewhere else where I can get regular first team football. I mean, there's other factors to come to that as well. The fact that his family is now apparently settled in Manchester and they've been moving again. I admit that, that's a part of the family dynamic at the end of the day. Apparently, I've seen something about Sergio Ramos. He's come out and said, well, my family aren't moving with me to Mexico, so his wife is staying in Madrid or Seville or wherever they ended up most recently. So, that can definitely split things. And that's just a report. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just what I've heard. And I can believe it. That happens with a lot of families, the decision to whether, to go somewhere for work or not, that's a big part of it. So I'm not going to be here and, sort of pretend that's any different, but purely from a professional point of view, if I was Casemiro, I'd definitely move on in the summer. I even made a video, I'm sure I made a video in the summer transfer window saying that Casemiro needs to get out of Manchester United. And I stick by that point of view. I just don't think he's cut out for it right now anymore. I don't think he's a terrible player, but for whatever reason, at that club right now, it's not working out for him. And he's still got something to give. Whether he goes Saudi, whether he goes back to Brazil or something like that, I feel like he could be a regular first team starter for a decent club. I just don't think he's doing it right now in the Prem for Man United. And I don't think that's a controversial opinion. But guys, what do you think? Should Casemiro move on? Is he right to stick with Manchester United until the end of his contract? By law, he has every right to do that. There is nothing wrong with that. But I think from his career standpoint, that is not the best move. I feel like he should go somewhere else and play regular first team football, because he's not going to get that at Old Trafford. At least while Ruben Amorim's in charge. How long is that going to be? Probably till the end of his contract, if not longer. But we'll see. We'll see, guys. Your thoughts in the comments below as always. Should Casemiro stay or should he go? So Manchester United recently published their accounts. All football clubs in England have to publish their financial records, and Manchester United have done this for a recent accounting period. And the amount of money that they've had to pay to get rid of Erik ten Hag, the man they sacked earlier this season, the man that they gave a contract extension to in the summer just gone, stands at around £14.5 million when you also get Dan Ashworth involved in that as well. That is quite a bit of money that they have effectively wasted right there. And for those of you that aren't aware, Dan Ashworth pretty much joined and then left almost straight away. A real financial blow to Manchester United when, of course, they are making cuts constantly. They are laying staff off, they are making staff redundant, and the revenue for the club is also going down as well. Right now, things are not looking very good, both on and off the pitch right now for Manchester United. Things are not looking positive at all. Let's have a look at the full data here, guys. Let's have a look at the full story here on thefootballchronicle.com, and I'll give my thoughts at the end of the article as always. Manchester United's latest quarterly accounts submitted to the New York Stock Exchange have revealed the substantial financial impact of the dismissals of former manager Erik ten Hag and sporting director Dan Ashworth. The club was forced to pay a combined compensation bill of £14.5 million following ten Hag's sacking in October, just 4 months after he signed a new contract until 2026. The decision to extend ten Hag's deal rather than terminate his existing one with 12 months remaining proved to be costly for the club. Ashworth, who joined United from Newcastle United in a multi-million-pound settlement, also departed after just 5 months in his role. The severance packages for both ten Hag and Ashworth are listed under exceptional items in the accounts, with the club stating exceptional items for the quarter were a cost of £14.5 million. This relates to costs associated with departure of former men's first team manager Erik ten Hag and various members of football staff. The financial figures also highlight a £44.8 million drop in broadcasting revenue over the past 12 months, primarily due to the club's participation in the Europa League rather than the more lucrative Champions League, while commercial revenue saw a modest increase of £3.8 million to £43 million year on year, attributed to a new shirt sponsorship deal with Qualcomm. The net finance cost skyrocketed from £300,000 to £37.6 million. The club cites an unfavourable swing in foreign exchange rates, resulting in unrealised foreign exchange losses on unhedged USD borrowings as the reason for this significant increase. So basically, the pound went down against the dollar during that period. That is probably what they're referring to there. Of course, United are a British club, but they are listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and the primary owners of the club are, of course, American in the form of the Glazers. Despite the concerning financial numbers, United Chief Executive Omar Barada maintained that the club's focus remains on improving the men's team's league position. I mean, hard to make it worse, really. They're 15th at the moment. Currently sitting in 15th place, just 3 spots above the relegation zone, the team faces a crucial match against Everton on Saturday. Everton are actually ahead of Man United at the moment as well, which is just ridiculous, but there we go. Barada stated, "We recognise the challenges in improving our men's team's league position, and we are all working hard collectively to achieve that. At the same time, we are pleased to have progressed on to the knockout phase of the Europa League and the 5th round of the FA Cup. Meanwhile, our women's team is currently placed 2nd in the Women's Super League and has reached the quarter-finals of the Women's FA Cup." The Manchester United Supporter Trust must, I'm not telling them they must do something, that's what it stands for, must, M-U-S-T, has criticised the club's recent decision to increase ticket prices to £66, arguing that it would be futile and counterproductive and would only generate an additional £2 million in revenue. In a statement, Must said, "Fans should not pay the price for a problem that starts with our crippling debt and interest payments and is exacerbated by a decade or more of mismanagement. It's time to freeze ticket prices and allow everyone, players, management, owners and fans, to get behind United and restore this club to where it belongs." And of course, this also comes around the same sort of time as Liverpool have announced they've freezed their prices for next season. Now, they're very much an outlier in that I think they and Crystal Palace are the only Premier League clubs who have kept their prices the same for next season. Apart from maybe the relegated sides, I imagine they will probably make theirs a decrease. But still, that being said, fair play to those two clubs. But United right now, bad on the pitch, bad off it, bad for the fans. It's dark times, to be honest. I mean, domestically, really dark times, and financially not looking too great either. I know that at least the commercial revenue has seen an uptick. That is something, I suppose. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, you know, for them to get European football next season, they're going to have to win the FA Cup or win the Europa League. And if they win the Europa League, they get back in the Champions League, and that'll help plug that financial kind of downturn there, obviously, because they've gone from Champions League to Europa League. But there's a very real possibility they won't have any European football at all next season, which again, that'd be another big financial loss for them. And they are getting to the point where it's hard for them to kind of keep going the way they are with these transfer fees, and the players that are loaning out are doing well too. Anthony's doing well at Real Betis. Marcus Rashford's doing all right at Aston Villa. Early days, of course, for both of them, but it's not great to be a Man United fan at the moment. It really has been a torrid season. Erik ten Hag, I mean, for me, honestly, he never would have got an extension if he didn't win the FA Cup. They got a record low of 8th place in the Premier League last season. He would have been sacked 100% if he lost that final, but he won the final. They kept him on, they gave him a contract extension, and immediately regretted it pretty much. But, you know, Erik ten Hag had United in a higher place in the league than what Amorim does right now. I'm not blaming Amorim, I'm not saying he should go, but there's definitely a lot of Man United fans that are already losing patience with him. But that kind of speaks to the problems of the club as a whole, in my opinion. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you surprised to see the financial downturn of Manchester United over this last accounting period? I'm not really, given their fortunes on the pitch. It is bound to affect things off the pitch. And yeah, pretty much, aside from commercial revenue, it has all been a downturn pretty much. So it's not really what you want to see. Not what you want to see. So in the English second tier, the EFL Championship, there was a match this weekend between Burnley and Preston North End. And allegedly there was a racist incident going on in this game. Allegedly, Hannibal, who plays for Burnley, was racially abused by Preston North End Osmajic. Now, you may remember Osmajic from earlier this season because he was the player that was banned for a lengthy spell for biting an opponent Luis Suarez style. It was embarrassing to say the least. It was disgusting, and as is this incident as well. So the FA in England have opened an investigation into this. Obviously, it's a very serious incident, and I just want to go over it because I feel it's important to cover at the end of the day, because despite lots of strides being made in the English game in the last few decades or so, I feel like we've still got a long way to go. And incidents like this between two professionals, I mean, it's bad enough when fans do these things, but between two professionals in the game, it's just sad really at the end of the day. But let's have a look at it, guys. Let's have a look at the footballchronicle.com. Full article on here as always. The Football Association has launched an investigation into Burnley midfielder Hannibal-Osmajic. I am probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Everybody just calls him Hannibal though. Allegation of racial abuse against Preston North End forward Hannibal-Osmajic during Saturday's 0-0 draw at Deepdale. Hannibal reported the incident immediately to referee Andrew Kitchen, and the FA is expecting to receive the officials' report on Monday, which will include details of the incident. Following the game, Hannibal took to Instagram to address the issue, stating, "I will not be silent about what happened. I will always call out racism whenever I hear or see it. That is the only way we change as a sport and as a society. I am a strong person, but nobody should have to experience this disgusting abuse on the pitch." Burnley have confirmed their awareness of the alleged comment and have pledged their full support to the 22-year-old midfielder. In a statement released on Saturday, Preston said, "Hannibal-Osmajic has strongly refuted the claims of a comment made towards Hannibal-Osmajic in a post-match meeting with today's match officials." Burnley manager Scott Parker spoke to BBC Sport after the game, expressing his concern for Hannibal. He said, "He's hurt. I think everyone could see it that at the time. Hannibal's an emotional player and he was visibly very stressed by what was said. I don't want to get into the details of what was said. I'm sure it will come out in due course. Hannibal's reported it and is bitterly gutted. So we'll see what happens in the coming days." The Professional Footballers Association, PFA, has reached out to Burnley to offer its support, while anti-discrimination charity Kick It Out commended Hannibal for his courage in immediately raising the alleged abuse with the referee. K stated, "When alleged incidents occur, reporting them immediately and through the right channels helps them to be addressed. Hannibal deserves credit for bringing the incident to the referee's attention. Speaking up takes huge courage. We also commend the officials for following the correct protocols. We expect an investigation to be carried out swiftly and sensitively." The two sides are set to meet again at Deepdale in the FA Cup 5th round on Saturday the 1st of March. This incident comes just months after Osmajic was banned for 8 games by the FA and fined £15,000 for biting Blackburn's Owen Beck in October, an offence for which he admitted a charge of violent conduct. Kinda hard to deny at that point. There's a video of the man taking a chunk out of the dude. You know, he's not holding back. I mean, but honestly, this is just disgusting. You know, at the end of the day, it's a repeat offender. You know, it's someone who has done something incredibly dirty and disgusting to bite another person. Let's just take football out of the equation, right? Bite another person like that to try and hurt them. Animal are you trying to do that? And then you add this in as well. Now, I stress that we don't know what was said. We don't know what was said, right? But at the end of the day, it's a very serious incident and the FA is going to do its investigation and it's horrible. If he was abused, like he claims to have been abused, which I believe him. You know, why would he make this up? I don't know why he would. And but before anybody says anything, I've seen some Preston fans online saying that he's lying, Hannibal, that he's lying and he should be punished for it. And I'm just like, well, let's see what the investigation says, right, before we draw any proper conclusions to this. But at the end of the day, if he's been racially abused on the football pitch, that is absolutely not allowed. It's just not allowed. You can't go doing that. It's wrong, and he should get a very lengthy ban for this, Osmajic, if he has done what has he been alleged to have done. You know, at the end of the day, football's a beautiful game, but there's some really ugly people who are involved with it. And I'm sad to say that Osmajic, despite, you know, in spite of anything that happens with investigation, you know, Osmajic definitely falls into the category of someone who is on the ugly side of the beautiful game. Because, like I said, the man's tried to bite. Actually, not even tried to bite. He bit. He assaulted someone with his teeth earlier this season. So, you know, clearly a bit of a wrong, to say the least, you know. And at the end of the day, this needs to be stamped out. You've got to take a hard line, no tolerance kind of thing with this. I don't know what kind of punishment he would get for this. 10-match ban, big fine, something like that. No idea. But we'll see what happens with it. I'll bring you any news when it comes, obviously. I imagine it's going to come out literally this week, maybe next week or so. It should be a pretty cut and dry case, really. But we'll see what happens, guys. And yeah, I will see you soon for some more content here on thefootballchronicle.com. It's just a sad state of affairs seeing something like this, but it still happens. It still happens. Unfortunately, there's still sections of society that are quite backwards with stuff like this, and this also applies to footballers too. So yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe if you liked this, lack of a better term, in the sense that it's, you know, me bringing in the news rather than the news itself. But yeah, see you soon, guys. Have a great day.